this question comes up a lot on the ArCast, but in your opinion, what does Arweave need to do as an ecosystem to go more mainstream? I know it's a big question.
Okay, so you know what? Sam Williams, obviously, completely just stole my heart in Singapore, right? So I was kind of like, oh, we got to like do more marketing and whatnot and everything. But then Sam said just like a simple phrase that hit me straight in the soul. And he's like, I don't know exactly how he framed it, but in my head, it's like, it just needs to be organic, right? So I had a very good chat with Richard from Accord. And in the end, we feel like things, or I guess I came up with this idea in my head that things should be built from the inside out and not from the outside in.
You're tuned to the ArCast, where we talk about the blockchain on the ArCast and how your data remains the ArCast, where Arweave is the topic, censorship-resistant permanence. Yeah, we got it. Hi, friends. You're listening to the ArCast with your host, Andrew. This is episode 28. What? And you know what I'm bullish on? Decentralized permanent storage. As is my friend, Romain Calle at everVision, who came to us this week from the French island of Réunion, which is off the coast of Madagascar. And we talked about some Arweave IRL events he attended. We talked about the ones that are coming up. And we talked about the road towards mass adoption of Arweave and a lot of cool projects in the space. This Friday, December 16th, we're doing the community call. So be sure to follow us on Twitter for information on that. We got the Build and Chill in Discord on the 20th. So you can ask us all about your questions pertaining to RIO, ArDrive, RNS. We just dropped a video on RNS pro tips, and we've got the upcoming Ari the Aardvark rap video. Also, we're going to be in Vegas for CES, so we'll have some information about a meetup. But let's jump into it. This is my interview with Romain Calle on the ArCast. Hey friends, welcome to the ArCast. We have a special guest. We have Romain Calle of everVision, and this dude's been around the world. He was just at Arweave in Asia. He won the award for funniest, most laughs for a conference. I think I saw that on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I heard you were a hit there. How you doing? Thanks for being on the ArCast.
Yeah, you know what? Thanks so much for having me. Like, I really I love this whole community and everything. I wasn't aware that I got, most laughs, but, I guess it's good to know after that. But we also had Arweave in Asia, Arweave in Lisbon. And that was pretty cool as well.
The community is global. You travel a lot, and you're the first person I've ever talked to in your time zone on the ArCast, which required some negotiation. Tell us about, man, there's so much to talk about. Like, how did you end up on this island east of Africa?
Okay,
how'd you get there?
Yeah, so for anyone listening, I live on it is actually part of the UNESCO or something like that. One of the beautiful places on this planet. It's called Réunion Island. It's a French island off the coast of Madagascar. How did I get here? My dad. And I didn't know. My dad was like, hey, we're going to Réunion. And I was like, where's that? That's in France. So I was like, okay, let me look this up in France. And it ended up being like here. But it's really beautiful. It's far from everything. We do have internet and electricity and stuff. Many people think we don't, but we do have all that. But yeah, that's how I landed here, and I left and came back, and then I just travel all over the world. I think that's I've never lived in a place for more than 4 years.
What place have you lived the longest then? I guess multiple places of 4-year spans, right?
I mean, I guess the longest would be Dominican Republic, which was 4 years, or 5 maybe. I don't know in total, because I left and came back and whatnot. And maybe even Reunion, 5 in total. I 3 and then 2 and then so yeah. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm French. I don't feel like I'm anything. I just feel like I'm part of the planet, So
that's cool. What so you must speak many languages.
I mean many. I speak 3: fluent French, Spanish, and English. I think that's good enough for now.
Yeah, that covers a lot of the world, and that ties into like this idea we were talking about before we started recording. Arweave is global. There's so many events. You connect with the community in Asia. We've been talking about like events in the US. You were in Portugal. Like you're a worldwide dude. And like because of this, you've been able to connect a lot of people in the communities. What brought you into Arweave in the first place?
Wow. So this is actually a good one. So I actually fell into this whole crypto thing by accident. I was actually a day trader. I day traded like on on NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange. And a buddy of mine had like 2 Bitcoin. And well, long story short, we were making like tons of money and on Binance and whatnot. And he thought he could trade on his own. Obviously, you can't really do that. And he lost it all on this coin called YFII, which is a fork from Yield Finance. And so I kind of went into their chat, and so it was an Asian thing. And a few months go by, and they offer me to help with the chat and whatnot. And then they offer me to come on WeChat, and then their group disbanded. And then I made friends with Tao Yin, which is a really popular investor in China. And then he introduced me to Alprog from EverFinance at the time, now everVision. And I found out about Arweave, and I was like, holy moly, this is actually really sick. This is something like I can see myself doing for many, many years. And I've been in the ecosystem for about like 2 years now.
You've seen like the huge adoption, all the press, and now you've seen where it's kind of become like popular for the utility and the building and like that shift kind of, which has been interesting.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of everything really. I've seen more the beginning where like everyone was kind of, well, we're still separated. Like we're not really working together, but it's starting to form where, multiple projects from the ecosystem are trying to do things together, which is nice. But before, it was like everyone's doing their own thing, seeing what's happening and just seeing what works really. And so, it's been, obviously I was focused on everVision. But now that I see that this community, there's just so much power. I mean, I don't know, this is gonna, like, I have a Redstone shirt on. I just rock everyone's merch, I feel like I love everVision, but more so I love Arweave. So I feel like everyone in the ecosystem is very important, and everything like Accord, AR Drive, Redstone, Pianity, all these projects, they do super cool things. And I feel like I want to be there and just share that with everyone, kind of like a spokesman for Arweave. I don't know.
That's cool, man. Yeah, because it's like the ethos is decentralization, right? But the community is stronger when there's like central social context and we're doing our thing, but we come together. So it's interesting because I don't know a lot of blockchain cultures that have the same sort of diversity in community in terms of types of people. Can you think of any?
No, I can't. I can't at all. But what I really, really like about this community, and I just say it so many times, people are probably going to get like annoyed, right? But it's the fact that in for example Singapore or Lisbon, every single person was talking about, oh my God, this tech here, and oh, you can do this and that, and you can mix it together. Now, I'm not a dev, you're not a dev either. So like when they talk to us, we're like, I don't know what you're saying, bro, but like that sounds cool. And so it excites me, and I have no idea what they're saying, but they're so excited that it excites me, and I have no idea what they're saying. You know what I mean? And so what I realize is that it's not, and no talks of money, no talks of whatever. It's all talk. It's just all for the ecosystem, whatever's best for the user, whatever's best to preserve data on Arweave. That's the ultimate, everyone's ultimate goal. And I really, really love that.
This question comes up a lot on the ArCast, but in your opinion, what does Arweave need to do as an ecosystem to go more mainstream? I know it's a big question.
Okay, so you know what? Sam Williams, obviously, completely just stole my heart in Singapore, right? So I was kind of like, he was like, oh, we got to like do more marketing and whatnot and everything. But then Sam said just like a simple phrase that hit me straight in the soul. And he's like, I don't know exactly how he framed it, but in my head, it's like, it just needs to be organic, right? So I had a very good chat with Richard from Accord, and in the end, we feel like things, or I I guess I came up with this idea in my head that things should be built from the inside out and not from the outside in. So for example, nature, right? When you look at a plant, you don't just see things like flying and just like sticking onto the tree and, and then it grows. No, everything goes from, the soil and goes up. And when you look at a building, obviously everything's built, put together, and you have to maintain that building. So in order for us to just have this decentralization, organic building is the best way. So things from inside out. So it'll take a while. It'll take a while for everything to just, everything's just dirty, not really structured right now. But as time goes on, things will find its place, an ecosystem will build, and it'll just be strong. It's like a base of a tree. You see the base of a tree, it's like super compact. And I think that's the phase we're at right now. We're just like a little tree, but just stem out of the soil. But it's going to be a great adventure, I think.
If you grow organically and slowly, then it becomes really strong and there's less maintenance to have to do. Like it kind of has its own life. Yeah.
Exactly. And we don't want to have maintenance on Arweave, right? It's like Sam made in Singapore, when he talked about Arweave 2.6, he said, all the biggest updates are done in the beginning, and then after time goes on, people say, this is actually stable, and then they start adopting it. Like he gave examples of, I don't know what sites exactly, but that's how it is. And I see the vision now. I see that, we don't actually need marketing right now. We just need to make sure that everyone in this ecosystem is going in the right direction, that we're bringing everything that we need. For example, we have PermaSwap, which will bring liquidity. We have you guys with the mobile app now. And it's just making it so it's user-friendly first, as much as possible. And then as soon as it's nice and stable, people will come on their own. I mean, Arweave is amazing. It's just so simple. You don't need to pay 5,000 times and whatnot. It's just one payment, and there you go. It's saved forever. So yeah,
making people aware of the problem it solves, like with permanent data, right? Because people don't think about how, like you said, recurring payments. You might lose your data. There's no promise it will be there, and that's a technical thing that once people realize that, there's no way it can't reach mass adoption, right? It's just a matter of keeping the community strong, making sure it works. And you and I, we're guys who kind of work between the devs and the world and the greater world. So
yeah. No, I mean, oh my God, I totally agree. I mean, these devs, I mean, have you met any of the teams? Have you met
I was at the Arweave anti-party in New York last year.
So I've met tons. You've met Tate, right?
Yeah, Tate's great. Yeah.
Okay, you have this guy. He is just insane. His brain, I don't know how it's still in his skull. The way he talks, bro, you're not 19. There's no way. Get out of here. And all these people within the ecosystem, they're kind of like Tate. You have Richard. This man is a genius. All these people are just geniuses. Outprog, and it's such for me. I know Outprog very well now. I met him. So his English is not good at all, but you can tell that he's so frustrated because he honestly is a genius, but he can't communicate it. You have all these people from all these countries, like you said, and once you put them all together, it's just oh boy. The future better be careful, because I mean, this ecosystem has a lot of geniuses. So yeah,
that's cool. I mean, and it's interesting to see how things evolve and change. You've been in it long enough to see a lot of that. And one of the things I want to ask you about is with everVision. It seems like from what I've noticed, it's looking like with the name change, they're trying to do more than just payments, right? To do other stuff in the ecosystem. Can you talk about some stuff you're working on with them, or is there anything that's public you could share about the new steps?
Oh boy. There's oh boy, strap in, boys and girls. There's so everVision, yeah. So the reason why the change is because at the beginning, so it was EverFinance, and it was more of a fintech type of thing with the payment, obviously. But then Outprog Now you have to understand that Alprog, Standy, and the devs at everVision, I think they like just poop out apps. I mean, honestly, like one day they say, "Oh, by the way, we made this," and we're like, "Oh, okay, like okay." So they decided to transform into like a Web3 tool provider type of thing. So an infrastructure provider type of thing. So we have obviously Everpay. Most of the people know what Everpay is. It's a real-time payment protocol that with no fees, no gas fees, anything. It allows to do a transaction from one person to another, all done in real time. And how do we do this? Because all the I guess the contracts are done offline. All the transactions are stored onto Arweave, but this makes it so that we could just do everything in real time. So that's obviously Everpay. We have number 2, which is PermaSwap. So this is going to be the first cross-chain DEX on Arweave. Now keep in mind that Verdo is the number 1 DEX, or was the number 1 DEX, but we're going to be the number 1 cross-chain DEX. So we're on 6 chains: Moonbeam, Platon, Ethereum, Arweave, of course. And I'm missing 2, Conflux, and 1 more. Can't remember the 6th one. But PermaSwap is going to be using Everpay, so the whole real-time payments, no gas fees, none of that stuff. All the swaps will be done as soon as you click swap. You have your money. That's how it's going to work. Well, as soon as you click swap and accept on your wallet, then you'll have the whatever you swapped for. So that's number 2. Number 3 is going to be a Web3 tool for developers to be able to build on Arweave. There's just a whole bunch of stuff in there, which I guess you and I, we don't really understand, but it's really a easy as copy paste type of thing. So there's a whole bunch of kind of initial code, and you just copy paste, boom, put it on whatever the devs do, and then boom, voila, you have it. And then number 3 is a permaDAO. PermaDAO, I think, speaks for itself. It's a DAO. We want it to be an Arweave DAO. We'll see how that goes. So we have multiple projects like Arweave News, Accord, Redstone that'll kind of be pitching in and building this DAO. And hopefully, who knows, maybe we can have AR Drive pitch in as well. All these projects are just built together. That is obviously the goal. So yeah, those are the 4 things for now that we have.
With PermaSwap, it's unique because it lets you use SmartWeave to trade, which is something that's really cool about Arweave, that's unique about it.
PermaSwap actually uses Everpay, but Everpay uses something called SCP. So SCP is storage-based consensus paradigm. So whoever's listening, you got to Google it, because this is a long explanation of what storage-based consensus paradigm is. But this is what allows us to kind of have the contracts off-chain and makes it real-time payment. And I think it's not just real-time payment, but it's unlimited TPS. Okay, you have to understand that Alprog, when he built this, when he built PermaSwap, when he built this Everpay system, he thought of TPS. He thought, okay, what is a big problem in today's blockchain? When we had the crash last year, I think it was in May or something like that, where Bitcoin just died and everything was dying. The biggest issue was that all the chains were clogged. Every single chain was clogged. Ethereum, the GUI was at like 99999. It was like $700 to make a transaction or something. So I don't even know what the TPS for that. Solana was the same thing. And so it's like, okay, so the biggest issue is TPS. It's cool when there's no issue and it's working. But what's not cool is when there's an issue and everything stops working because there's a TPS. So TPS, I think your users know what TPS is, but yeah. So that's what we don't have. We don't have a TPS. So it's unlimited. It depends on our servers, I guess. But we're mixing decentralization and centralization. We're trying to find that sweet spot between both of them. Obviously, everything on Everpay is all your keys. Everything's decentralized. We don't own any of your keys and whatnot.
Mass Web3 adoption is hard on a technical level. Sometimes you need to hold people's hand through it.
Yeah, of course. And again, the sweet spot with centralization as well. In this instance, it's just like servers. Like we just know that in order for it to be unlimited TPS, as we say, like, I mean, we can, if we wanted, we can have like 1 million transactions all at the same time. The transactions, 1 million transactions would just be bundled up and stored onto Arweave. I mean, it's pretty easy, but obviously it's just a server power, nothing else besides that. But I do agree with you that, especially, for the adoption of Web3 and whatnot, it's not easy for now. And I guess that's just something we're gonna have to work towards together as one, as the whole ecosystem. I think that's just something we have to do. I think you would agree that right now it's a little complicated to use kind of everything, I guess. When we bridged AR from Arweave to Ethereum, so we made the wrapped AR, we had a lot of US users come in and try to get that. From Coinbase, they tried to like deposit. I don't know exactly what was happening, but we had a ton and tons of people come from the US once we made a wrapped AR. And then we added the swap feature for USDC to AR. That was kind of just to test the whole real-time swap that we're doing for PermaSwap. You can actually right now, if you wanted to, swap USDC for AR on everVision, and everything's done in real time. And the liquidity is provided by us. So there's not, the spread is pretty large, but at least you can swap in real time. It was just a test.
That's cool. That's pretty unique. Like, being able to solve these problems is a big step towards like getting mass adoption, and the events we talked about too, like that, the energy of that coming together. I wanted to talk about Arweave in Asia and your time in Singapore, and like if you have any stories from that, because it seems like you were really excited about that, and it seems like it was awesome. You were saying it was the biggest Arweave meetup so far.
Arweave in Asia was the first kind of official Arweave conference, and then Arweave in Lisbon was the second one. I think Arweave in Lisbon was inspired by Arweave in Singapore in Asia, because everyone was super excited. Seb from Arweave was super excited. Sam, everyone just saw how everyone was so happy to be together that they're like, yo, we should do this more. And so a month later, it's like, okay, let's do Lisbon. And then it was supposed to kind of carry on, but well, I don't know. We'll see. You guys, you said you maybe are going to have something in the US.
We want to do something for ETH Denver, so we could maybe do a connection there.
So yeah, we definitely piggybacked on other events. So for example, in Singapore, it was Token 2049. So I mean, everything, all the big people were there, and so we made Arweave in Asia then. And a whole bunch of people came. We had Tate that came from, he came from, I guess, the US. Well, he stopped in London and then came to Singapore. We had Seb, Sam, all these people come. Accord came, Redstone's everywhere anywhere. Like these guys are just insane. So yeah, we definitely piggybacked. And then in Lisbon, we piggybacked as well from like Web3 or the Web Summit and ETH Lisbon. There was the Solana conferences going on. There's all these things. So we piggybacked off them as well. So yeah, in ETH Denver, for sure, do it. Piggyback off them. It doesn't matter because, what matters the most is just being together and just trying to build together and seeing what we can do together. Everything just needs to be done together. And there's no better time than during big conferences.
People are already there. And then like you might get people who have heard of it, Arweave, and they're like, oh, what is this? So like, oh, my friend's going to this, let's check it out. Like that's helpful, but yeah,
exactly. And this is something that I realized, I think in Lisbon, and it kind of had me thinking in a different way. What Arweave wants right now aren't necessarily like marketing guys or things like that. They just want the best builders, or actually not we just want the best builders. So how to do, instead of doing conferences and whatnot, we should just have I don't know, an Arweave house or like a hacker house, or I don't know, something like that, instead of just doing a conference. And within these hacker houses, we can have like little talks or something. I don't know. But I think that's the main thing. It's just saying, hey, like this event here, this is for like, you want to build? Do you like Arweave? Do you like what it, do you understand Arweave? Do you want to maybe find out what Arweave is? Hey, we have all the top-notch people here that know every single thing about Arweave. So come on down, and we'll help you, and we'll tell you whatever you need to know. And I think that's the approach we have to take. But I guess that's my take on things.
When people on Twitter are like, hey, how do I get involved? Like the other day, someone tagged Sam and me like, hey, I'm an Australian person, was like, I want to build with Arweave. And I was like, oh, check out these sites. And then it was just like the influx of people giving this person advice. It was like 20 people like, oh, go here, go here, go here. Did you see that?
I think I saw that tweet. I told them like, hey, go to Redstone's like Academy, or Web3 infra, with like tools and stuff. Yeah, it was great. Like you had tons of comments from everyone from the ecosystem. And that's what's great. Instead of having that online where the guy's kind of doing it on his own, in a sense, let's say he's in the US at the time. Well, hey, come down to the house. Well, you'll ask questions, boom, boom, and you can start building your own product. And then you have community labs with Tate that can just really help every step of the way. And I just can't. I always talk great things about Tate. I love Tate. Tate's the guy.
Yeah, man. No, it's really cool to see his story, right? Like storing the study guides on Arweave, and then during the pandemic, and then all the like figuring it out. That's an example of a natural growth of the project, yes. Right? Because it solved a problem. Then he and his dad bonded on like their love of blockchain, and then now it's like one of the biggest projects in this ecosystem.
Yeah, and you know what? And I think, and this is going back to this whole, how can we promote Arweave and whatnot? I think Tate is just the prime example of Arweave, right? I think he started out as like a community manager somewhere, and then he like just grew on from there, but he just really fell in love with Arweave first. It wasn't anything more. He's like, oh, cool, I could build cool things with this. And then as time went on, obviously Arweave caught on, like, oh, this guy's a genius. So they helped him out. But that's how it should be. It should just be all organic. And when time comes, Arweave will be adopted.
Where do you think Arweave will be in 5 years from now with the momentum it has?
If we continue on with this organic growth, and not trying to rush things and bring in an influx of people, and then those influx of people are thinking, oh my God, nothing works, okay, we're leaving. I think if we could continue on this path, kind of seeing each other all the time, I think we should have a solid base in 5 years.
Do you feel like the entire web as we know it will be archived by then on Arweave? Maybe, right?
I think it should. You know what? On Twitter, I saw the other day, like there's these people that were like, they had a newborn or something, and they made an email for that newborn, and then they were just storing pictures on that email, and then they kind of forgot about it. And like 10 years later, that email just doesn't exist anymore because the email provider or whatever kind of just, oh, you're not using this, we're deleting it, right? So I think in the future, and people don't know this yet, but Arweave and permanent storage is definitely the way to go. I think once people understand that Arweave isn't just, just a blockchain on its own. The thing is, people don't understand that Arweave is not just a data storage blockchain. No, it's so much more complex than that. And you know what? I'll go off with what Alprox said about, for example, Bitcoin is like blockchain 1.0. So it's just that simple peer-to-peer payment type of structure. And then ETH is like blockchain 2.0. So that implemented like the smart contracts and being able to build dApps onto ETH and just build like an ecosystem. But then you had the data issue. And so Arweave outproxies that as like blockchain 3.0, where you can have the peer-to-peer, you can have smart contracts or like the smart weave and whatnot, and you have this permanent data storage that's not expensive. I think that ETH, like to store like 1 gig is like, I don't know, I read I read like it was like astronomical. It was like 80K or something. I don't know. I read this a while back. It was just it was ridiculous. But yeah, so that's I guess that's my take on that.
5 years is a really long time in blockchain years. Like that's like 100 years almost.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, it's just so long. But Arweave is just already like the base is I guess the base is already like we already have roots and whatnot, you know, so it's already sturdy. I mean, Arweave has been around since what 2017, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been around. So the proof of concept, like it works, and especially with the the whole endowment and whatnot. I think Pierre said the other day that Sam said that things should be able to be stored for like 10,000 years with this, if the endowment like plays out how it says it, like which is absolutely nuts in my head. But I just hope that we continue on the same path. I think just my hope is that we continue on the same path. We're all working together and we're attracting the best builders possible. I think that's where we should be at.
The more interesting projects that are using Arweave, the more it organically gets its name out there. It's like there's a lot we can do, and I'm always excited about like the VR sphere. I think that it's hard to stream with Arweave. You have to like download the virtual modules and everything, but like that's interesting to have like these permanent virtual worlds, right? Wow. That's exciting to me.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I didn't know that actually. I mean, there's so many things. This ecosystem is just ridiculous because every day I there's like this another new project that just like surfaces, like permafax, for example. I think people have heard of permafax, and we spoke to permafax on Twitter the other day, and they want to have like this truth market where like you can vote if like this information is like true or false. And so every single piece of information will have kind of like a true market or a truth market behind it. And I think that's fantastic as well. I mean, there's so many things that excite me about this whole, because it's not just about permanent data storage, it's about permanent anything. And that's pretty amazing, especially the perma-web. Man, I'm just excited. I want to see you already. Is it ETH Denver yet? Because we're most likely going to be going. everVision's most likely going to be going with Oliver, my colleague. And I just want to meet you guys. I want to just be excited about everything you're building and just communicate it to the world. I talk about Arweave all the time, just so you know. I'm a little addicted.
Hey, I relate. No, I could tell you got a lot of passion, excitement, and like it's infectious. And I agree with you. Like it's when you meet everyone, you're in the same room, like things will come up that can't come up through Zoom or through Discord. Like it's a different kind of energy.
Yeah.
Which it all works together. And like, I guess my last question for you, dude, is: are there projects in the Arweave sphere that we haven't mentioned that you're particularly excited about?
MetaWeave, with their whole socials. There's Aftermarket is definitely one. It's like a treasury management type of thing for the Arweave ecosystem. So you can kind of like make pools with like different PSTs and like I think that's something that can be really cool for the Arweave ecosystem. I mean, there's so much that can be cool, especially like I feel like we're just at the tip of the iceberg with things that people are building. Like we still don't have a lot of things. We don't have an NFT marketplace yet. We don't have so many things in this ecosystem. So once people actually start to build these things, we'll just start going off the rails. I just want to see everything on Arweave. I don't want to use ETH anymore. I don't want to use BNB. Just please give me Arweave. That's all I need.
That's what's up. You're very good on social media. Where do you like to direct people? I know we linked on LinkedIn, but like, where do you like to keep in touch with the community? What platforms?
You know what? So I actually just recently started to be more vocal, like on Twitter. But I'm very active on everVision's Telegram or Discord, obviously for the community. But I definitely want to interact with Arweave more on Twitter. So I guess my Twitter is it's funny because it's called United Arweave. That's my @ on Twitter. So United Arweave. Hey, if you ever have a question for me, or if you ever want to, I don't know, I'm not a dev, but if you, I don't know, need inspiration on how to partake in Arweave without being a dev, I guess you could just hit me up, and I'll, it's all about passion. Just be passionate, and people will see it and they'll love you for it.
I agree with that. I think that's a really good philosophy. Romain, this has been a great interview, and like I appreciate all your perspective, and I'm glad we linked. And it's cool. It's cool to connect with you and to hear everything that's happening, stuff we haven't talked about on the ArCast yet. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. I really thanks for having me. I again, Arweave or AR Drive is one of the bigger projects, bigger influence in the whole, and obviously what you guys are doing is amazing. We can't say otherwise. And obviously with you, Andrew, bringing out, I always watch your videos. Those edits are just amazing.
Thanks,
so I gotta love it.
I appreciate it, dude. Well, if you want to see Romain's, see this interview, check out the clips on Instagram and everything. Thanks, Romain. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, r_io_team, and ArDrive app for all the updates. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're everywhere. Dropping that flavor. Thanks for listening. And remember, the community call is this Friday, and the Build and Chill is a week from Tuesday. We'll see you there. Thanks, everyone. Bye.